Hello, and welcome to Alt Culture Weekend. My name is Noah. You are listening to Alt 1017, and we're going to have a fun night here. This has been a great weekend for music. There's a ton of great albums that we were looking forward to. I mentioned a few of them last week, but this week, my listening experience has been very, very enjoyable. Now, some albums I did like more than others, but I think all of them had some bright spots on them, and some that I liked more than others. So stay tuned. Towards the end of the program, I'll tell you my Gold Star album for this week. Some weeks we don't have a Gold Star album, but this week I think there was a clear front runner. So stay tuned for that. We've got Vampire Weekend, Conan Gray, Benson Boone, all coming your way later this hour. And, we've also got some new movies to talk about. We got some alternative artist updates to talk about. Some people are hitting big on the charts. Stay tuned. We've always are adding to the list of viral sounds, as that is our historical mandate from the historians of culture. I want to tell you a little bit about this new Black Keys album, The Ohio Player. It's about 45 minutes, and this album has a lot of their sort of just like signature rock style back at it again. I really like some of the guitars on this album, and I was interested to see that a couple of the songs had some features and sort of incorporated a little hip-hop rap sections. And now I do think this was more successful on a song like Candy and Her Friends over a song like Paper Crown, but I think it all works out in the end. There's some sort of Western style influences on a song like Read 'Em and Weep, and I think the closer, Every Time You Leave, is very good. If you enjoy the sort of glitch rock sound on a song like Wild Child, which is a famous hit of theirs, I think Please Me Till I'm Satisfied sort of leans into that. Overall, I think it's a very solid album. That's the Black Keys with their new album, The Ohio Players. All right, so I want to play a song for you off this. This is one of my favorite songs off the album. It's On the Game is the name of it, and I really like the guitar refrain on this song. So take a listen to that as we play it for you right here on Alt Culture Weekend. Here's the Black Keys with On the Game. We like to play you that new music here on Alt Culture Weekend. We also like to keep you updated on alternative artists and what they're up to, what they're doing, what they're talking about. And so Jack White of the popular band, that White Stripes, so he was mentioned recently following the release of Beyonce's Cowboy Carter, which we played Levi's Jeans on the show last week. Beyonce sent him a bouquet of flowers to Jack White along with a message. He said, I just wanted you to know how much you inspired me on this record. Sending you my love, Beyonce. And Jack White said that he was so powerful to have inspired her as she sort of delved into this sort of different genre, playing a little bit of that. Though I will always say that on Beyonce's Lemonade, she also delved into some of the country western influences, which Jack White was also featured on that album. So shout out to Beyonce and previous and hopefully future collaborator Jack White. So that is a little bit of what's going on there. Now, I also want to tell you a little bit about some Billboard, some charts, some rankings. I was very happy to see Hozier debuted at number 1 on the Hot Rock and Alternative Songs charts with his song Too Sweet. He also hit number 5 on the Hot 100. That's coming from Billboard.com. So we played Too Sweet on the show a couple weeks ago, and whenever we did a little single Saturday, and I thought it was a very, very powerful song. It was recommended to me by my friend Jackson, and I think the more I listen to that song, the more that I'm like, okay, this could be a long-staying track. So very happy to see him doing well, having some success there. We always like whenever our artists do well. Someone who's maybe not doing so well, Chance the Rapper. I know this is a little hip hop or whatever, but I saw that this is he had divorced from his wife after 5 years of marriage. So I know he sort of had not such a great album with The Big Day, which was about sort of his wife on a lot of songs, talking about how much he loved her. I love my wife. And then whenever it didn't do so well, he said that he had so much going on with his life and stuff, and now here he is that they're getting divorced. So it looks even worse in retrospect, but hopefully that they are both doing okay and that their mental health continues to be all right. Weeks and weeks ago, we talked on the show about a lawsuit that Madonna was involved in after some fans in New York City accused her of breaking the law by starting some of her concerts more than 2 hours later than scheduled. They said they had trouble getting a ride home or had trouble getting up early for work the next day. her and her team, her lawyers have said that this is not like a worthwhile injury to a person and is not worthy of a lawsuit. So that she hits back at them saying fans can't sue over needing to wake up early. So that's Madonna under some trouble a little bit with that. You go out to a concert and you gotta wake up early the next day. They can't always be on the weekends. They can't always be on right before your days off. Sometimes you gotta plan around, and sometimes things happen. I hate when it happens, but sometimes if you need to leave the concert a little early, maybe that's an idea as well. So that's something going on there. Pop back to Cowboy Carter for a second ago. Sir Paul McCartney, Beatles fame, he's praising her cover of the Beatles song Blackbird. Here's what Paul McCartney said about that. I think she does a magnificent version of it, and it reinforces the civil rights message that inspired me to write that song in the first place. So that was what Paul McCartney said on Beyonce's cover of that. So, people are talking about her. There's been a lot of stuff going on with her. Let's hit one more group, one more rock group, one more metal group, 9 Inch Nails. It's been more than 4 years since the release of their last album, Ghost 6 Locus. But they said they've got a lot of stuff they're working on, an avalanche of projects, so to speak, including a new album, festival, short film, and video game. So stay tuned for stuff from 9 Inch Nails. As they continue to do things, we will continue to talk about it. That's just some of what's been going on this week in alternative music and beyond. Now let's transition back to talking about another album that came out just recently. You may be familiar with him from the TikTok or from the charts because he's been hitting big. It's Benson Boone. His album Fireworks and Rollerblades has released, and I think a lot of you may really enjoy this album. It's very rocky alt pop. It's got some folk and acoustic influences as well. He just has a very good, strong voice. I think that this is really success of an album. Now, some of the stuff can be almost a little too processed, but I think he makes it work. He's got some very good melodies, and he just keeps things interesting. And it seems like as I was listening to it, it seemed kind of like the album of someone who listened to or performed a lot of Christian contemporary growing up. Seems like someone who had done that would make this album, which some of the things he talks about sort of makes me think that maybe that is true, maybe he is religious. But I thought it was a very solid album. Beautiful Things, of course, is just a very solid song, which you've probably heard before. In the Stars is really sweet. The switch up sort of in Cry is interesting. It sort of starts real slow, and they're like, hang on, we need to go faster. Then they play faster. I'm like, okay. I do think that the end to the album is not the greatest. Whenever I listen to the album, I listen to it as a full experience, and I'm trying to say, like, how does everything sequence together? And I think that the final song just sort of fading out is a very weird end to the album. I feel like with everything is so almost cinematic with what he's doing in his music and his songs. It's like a performance. Is that the final song needs to end with a big bang or big but it kind of just fades out. So I'm like, dude, maybe switch some other song to go a little later. But apart from that, I think Benson Boone has a very solid album here. And having listened through to the album, I think that Slow It Down is a very good song to check out as well off this album. We'll be back in a few minutes to talk about movie updates and things going on in that film of visual entertainment. But stay tuned for that here on Alt 1017. You are listening to Alt Culture Weekend. Glass Animals just announced that they have a new album coming out. Release date, not so certain just yet, but they've got a new single out, Creatures in Heaven, and the name of the album is said to be I Love You So Effing Much. So stay tuned as we hear more from them in the coming weeks, in the coming months. And if we hear anything good from them, we'll play it right here on Alt 1017. I want to dip a little into movies, some new movies that are out this weekend that you can go watch in theaters right now. As always, I've got the trailers for you. I've got the sounds for you. And let's start with one from my horror fans. We've got The First Omen out right now in theaters. Let's listen to a little bit of it.
You don't have to be afraid. God has great plans for you. This child is his way.
So that's The First Omen. There's a little trailer for that. It's from 20th Century Studios. So when a young woman is sent to Rome to begin a life of service to the church, she encounters a darkness that causes her to question her own faith and uncovers a terrifying conspiracy that hopes to bring about the birth of evil incarnate. So that's a new horror film, The First Omen. It kind of sounded similar a little bit to Immaculate with Sydney Sweeney that was just coming out recently as well. But if you want to see some more of this religious horror, you can go see that in theaters right now. That's The First Omen. But if you want something a little lighter, something a little more chill, for a limited time, playing right now, it's a new rom-com based on the Karen Kingsbury book. It's Someone Like You. Here's a little bit of that trailer right here.
A single rock breaks the surface,
London?
sending ripples through all of time.
It's been a hard year.
I'm so sorry.
London was an in vitro baby.
The procedure gave us 2 embryos.
Saying London might have a sibling?
Hi.
Could we talk?
So if you can't tell it from the trailer there, the new rom-com, Someone Like You, is based on a book by Karen Kingsbury, and it's about after this guy loses his best friend, he finds out that his best friend actually had a secret twin sister, and then they meet up, and then, a rom-coms. So a new romantic movie. I say it's a rom-com. It may be more rom than com, but hopefully there's some funny jokes in it, or at least some light moments. So those are you got a little horror for you. You got a little romance for you. But what about action? That's right. We've got one of my most anticipated movies. It was on the list of my most anticipated movies for the year. It's the new movie Monkey Man. Let me play a little bit of trailer for that for you right now.
Find yourself. When I was a boy, my mother used to tell me a story of a demon king and his army. They brought fire and terror to the land until they faced the protector of the people, the white monkey. There you are.
That's Monkey Man, a new movie starring Dev Patel, produced by him, as well as it's got a little involvement from Jordan Peele, too. I've heard this described as sort of a John Wick-esque action movie. It's about this anonymous young man who sort of scrapes by for a living in an underground fight club where night after night, wearing a gorilla mask, he is sort of beaten up for cash. After years of this, he finds a way to infiltrate the city's sinister elite. Maybe get a little revenge. We love a little action revenge story. So that is one that I'm particularly excited to see, and I will keep you posted here on Alt Culture Weekend after I get a chance to watch it. So next week, I'll tell you a little bit about whether it's worth it for you to go check out. I think it's going to be good, so if you want to take a risk, go check it out, but I will keep you posted on whether it is good, what I think of that. Also coming out soon, stay tuned for that, some stuff that'll be also coming out soon. I am keeping my eye on another anticipated movie for me, A24's new movie Civil War, starring Kirsten Dunst. I'm particularly excited for this one. I always enjoy the small-scale stories that A24 has, but this promises to be a little bit bigger, so I'm excited for that. And then on Friday, this upcoming Friday, is the 20th anniversary of Shrek 2, so they'll be showing that in theaters right here in Tuscaloosa, and maybe in a theater near you as well if you're listening outside of the city, outside of the state. So that's a little bit of what's going on with movies. Also, a little note, we like to stay up to date on some fun things happening with movies that we enjoy, some updates, and Lisa Frankenstein, a movie, one of my favorite movies of the year so far. If you're a DVD person, Blu-ray person, it's going to be out on DVD on Tuesday, April 9th, so go snatch it up if you see it, because I don't know how long they'll be keeping it around. So that is what's going on with movies here. Let's transition a little bit to talk about another new album that I am very excited about. Played a single from this a couple weeks ago. It's Conan Gray's new album, Found Heaven. It's a very electronic synth-pop type album, and on a lot of the songs there were a lot of seeming vocal influences. I sort of found like one song had sort of Michael Jackson influence, one sort of sounded like Elton John a little bit, and then just a lot of 80s sounds on this album. So if you're a fan of that type of alt pop, synth pop, go check this out. That's Found Heaven by Conan Gray, and one of my favorite songs from the album is Lonely Dancers, so maybe start there or check out Alley Rose. I think it's a really good ballad as well. We played Alley Rose a couple weeks ago, so I'm going to play Lonely Dancers for you tonight. This song has really grown on me the more I've listened to it. Stay tuned, we'll be back in a little bit to tell you about some more alternative artist updates. Here on Alt 1017. 21 Pilots is coming out with their new album May 17th, and Next Semester is a recent single that they've dropped, and so just want to highlight that for you right here on Alt Culture. But let's jump back into some alternative artist updates. Focus it a little bit on the 2024 iHeart Radio Music Awards. Now, there are so many award shows that at this point, getting an award, I mean, it'd be surprising if you didn't have one with how many award shows there are, if you're even somewhat recognized. But I just want to real quick hit a few of the people that were recognized in some of the bigger categories, just because I think it says something a little bit about the culture, you know? I think it says something a little bit about where we are with things. So Song of the Year, Kill Bill by SZA. Now, I think that is kind of a better pick for Song of the Year. I think that's a really great song. Artist of the Year is, of course, the one in popular Taylor Swift. And if we turn to some of the more alternative rock categories, I think it's an interesting sort of display of who has won in these categories. For Alternative Song of the Year, there were some similar ones to what was at the Grammys, perhaps. But One More Time by Blink-182 ended up winning, which I think, I mean, we've been playing that song on the station quite a bit, but I do think that's an interesting choice to go with. Also, Fall Out Boy for Alternative Artist of the Year. I mean, I think there are some better ones. I mean, I know Fall Out Boy had their So Much for Stardust album, which I think is a solid venture, but I do think that it's interesting. But for Best New Artist, I do think they got this right. Noah Kahan for Alternative and Rock Best New Artist. So that's just a little bit of that going on alternative. And then for Rock Artist of the Year was Foo Fighters, and Rock Song of the Year went to Lost by Linkin Park. So that's just a little bit of the iHeart Radio Music Awards. Award shows are all silly and they're all kind of stupid and a little crazy, but I think it's interesting to just sort of see what other people say is of note and to decide whether we agree with that. So that's something going on in some alternative artist updates. That's what some of those people are excited about. I want to get to some more music in a minute here, but I also want to highlight real quick the Rebel Moon is a little Zack Snyder Netflix venture, and they've got a little EP that they put out recently. I'm playing so many songs on the show tonight, I don't have time to fit one in, but and it doesn't quite necessarily quite fit with the type of music that we play, but I do think it's interesting. This new EP out, Rebel Moon, Songs of the Rebellion, inspired by the Netflix films. It's sort of an electronic type vibe across most of the album, sort of hip-hop, electronic, and getting together a variety of artists and international artists as well. But I think this one song, Child of Fire, we've got it on our playlist, on our Spotify playlist for the show this week, and I think it's an interesting acoustic jazzy type vibe. I think it's maybe something to check out. So that's a Rebel Moon EP. It's so random and everything, but I just wanted to sort of throw that out there before we get into this next album that I want to highlight, our Gold Star album of the week. I think this album is, I mean, pretty much top to bottom is a very solid Gold Star album. It's Vampire Weekend's new album, Only God Was Above Us. The production on this album, I think, is exquisite. I think I'm always impressed if someone can take like guitars and pianos and drums, instruments that have been around for years and years, and do something that I think is kind of unique and specific and kind of different, while still maybe aligning with standards or of the genre or anything. But I think that Vampire Weekend does a really good job across the album, making their songs seem interesting, doing some really good melodies, some really good choruses, incorporating some interesting mix of horns and and strings. And I think there's some violins on some of these songs. One of the songs we're going to play for you tonight, and then the piano across the album, and sort of the solos that it has. I think they do a good job of sort of flexing and stretching what a rock album can be, what an alternative album can be, and that's Vampire Weekend on Only God Was Above Us. I love a lot of the songs on here. Capricorn is really good. Connect is fun. I think the opener is good. The closer is amazing. The Surfer, I really like the bittersweet melody on that song. Mary Boone's great. A lot of good songs. Just go check it out. Tonight, I want to highlight off Vampire Weekend's new album. I want to highlight Prep School Gangsters. I love the instrumentation on this. Like I said, the horns, the strings, the piano are all amazing. So I want to play that for you tonight. We'll be right back to close up the show. You're listening to Alt Culture Weekend here on Alt 1017. A new song from Artemas that hit the Billboard Hot 100, hit number 70. I Like the Way You Kiss Me. Maybe you've heard that in your listening going around, so just wanted to highlight that song on the show for you. We're closing things out here on the Alt Culture Weekend as we near 7 p.m. It means it's our time to get out of here. But as we add to our canon for this year of 2024's viral sounds, I want to hit you with this one. Bros built like a 1x1 Lego piece. Let me play for this for you.
What do you mean bros built like a 1x1 Lego piece? What even is a 1x1 Lego piece? Yep, you're banned. Have a good night.
So maybe you've heard that trawling around on the internet, trawling around on social media, and we have to document it. We have to document it. It is our job here on the show. Let's go ahead and transition to our final album that we want to highlight for tonight. It's X Ambassadors, which you may know from their popular song Renegade. So this new album that they have out, Townie, it's not typically the type of album that I gravitate towards. It's very acoustic, very folky. Some might say it's kind of boring, but if you like that thing, if you like sort of the more stripped back vocal, very sort of wailing with guitar out back of the shed, definitely check this album out, Townie. I do think there are some good songs on here. I think I'm Not Really Here is good, and I think the song that we're going to play for you tonight, Rashad, is a good song off the album. But if you like sort of that more acoustic, folky vibe, Townie by X Ambassadors is your way to go. So we'll play that in a moment here. Thanks again for tuning in here on Alt Culture Weekend. We'll be back next week to talk more about stuff that's going on in movies, music, alternative artists, and more. Stay funky, and we'll see you next week.